Hi everyone, in this video I want to show you a game between Levon Aronian and Magnus Carlsen. The game was played in 2017 London Chess Classic round 9. Let's see the game. White starts with d4, placing a pawn in the center, and black replies with e6. A modest move by black, but it's a valid move, allowing the darker bishop and the queen to develop. Knight to f3, the knight is developed toward the center, controlling e5 and d4 squares. Next, black attacks the center with c5 and g3 from white, preparing bishop to g2. And black takes on d4 and white recapture with the knight. Queen to b6. Black brought his queen into the game too early, attacking the knight and looking at the g7 pawn, preventing the bishop from f8 to move. Moving the queen in an opening should be the last thing to do. In an opening we should develop the minor pieces, make castle and connect the rook by moving the queen. A good move for black was to develop the knight from f6, bishop to g2 and bishop to c5, attacking the knight twice. The drawback of this move is that the pawn from g7 is undefended. e3 defending the knight, and d5 from black. Queen to g4, the g7 is under attack and black brought his bishop back to defend the pawn. Another way was to defend the pawn with the king. White king is safe, and we can notice that black developed one piece and white developed 4 pieces: the knight, the bishop, the queen, and made short castle. Black continued with knight to f6, attacking the queen, queen to e2, e5, attacking the knight, and white played an intermediate move, giving a check on b5 with the queen. Bishop to d7, blocking the check, and queen takes on b6. White is exchanging the queens, inflicting double pawns for black on b5. Releasing the tension between the queens gives black the a file. White removes the knight from the attack now with knight to b3, and black continue with the development of the other knight, knight to 6, bishop to d2 and bishop to d6, preparing short castle. The knight to c3. d5 pawn is attacked another time. The bishop and the knight are looking at it, and also with this move white finished the opening. The king is saved, the rooks are connected, and all other minor pieces are developed. In the middle game, white needs to start an attack, but first he needs to find a target. The easiest target are the weak pawns. In this position, black has double pawns on the f-file, and white should see how his pieces can attack these pawns. If white has no attacking move, then he needs to improve the activity of his pieces. And black defended his pawn with knight to e7. Another way was to push e4 pawn, blocking the diagonal of the bishop. a4, controlling b5 and short castle. Black king is safe and he finished his opening. Knight to b5, attacking the bishop, and black gave his bishop pair by taking on b5. The a file is opened and black could trade the rooks or not. In the game, black moved the rook from a2 to c8, attacking the weak pawn from c2. Another way was to maintain the tension between the rooks and bring the other rook to the c file, threatening to take on a1 with the rook and then take the pawn from c2. As we see, black plan in the middle game is to attack white weaknesses, and white weaknesses are the pawn from c2, b2, and we also can see that white can attack the pawn from b7 by playing a rook to a7. Bishop to c3, The bishop interposes between the rook and the pawn, and white has another weakness on b5, but it's hard to attack it. If there are no weaknesses, black needs to create them. That's why in the game black played h5, intending to play h4. Rook f to d1, white brings the rook on an open file, and he's looking at the pawn from d5. This pawn is attacked twice, the bishop and the rook. Rook f to d8, black improves the position of his rook, and white played knight to d2. He wants to go to f3 and attack the pawn from e5 for a second time. h4 and knight to f3. The pawn from e5 and the pawn from h4 are attacked, so black took on g3 and white recaptured with the pawn. And we can see that the h file is opened, and black defended the pawn by pushing it to e4, attacking the knight. Knight to g5 and knight to g6, and white continued with rook to a7, attacking the pawn from b7, and black defends it with rook to b8. Bishop to d4, attacking the weakness from b6, and bishop to c5, defending the pawn, and here white took on c5 and black recaptured. White released the tension between the bishops and black improved his pawn structure, so white made a mistake by taking on c5. White attacks black center and black redeployed his knight to e7, heading to c8 and attacking the rook from a7. C takes on d5 and black attacked the rook with knight to c8, and white attacked the pawn from e4 with the rook. As we can see, white has 3 attackers and black has only 1 defender. So in the game, black continued with knight to b6, attacking the rook, rook to a3, knight to c4. The rook is attacked again with the intention to put the knight on the d6 square, blocking the pass pawn and defending e4 pawn. Also, black can take the free pawn from b2 in some lines. Rook to c3, attacking the knight and the weak pawn from c5, and black brought his knight back to d6. White takes the material, and rook to a8, placing the rook on the open file, and bishop to h3. The position of the bishop is improved, controlling the h3 c8 diagonal. On g2, the bishop was blocked by e4 pawn. Rook to e8, looking to go to e5, attacking the pawn and the knight. Rook to c7, entering into the 7th rank, attacking f7 twice. And in the game, black played king to f8. The king moved here because white can get a very good position after, for example, rook to a2. White can take on f7 with the knight. Knight takes on f7, and the bishop comes and pins the knight. Rook to f8, defending the knight, and rook takes on b7, and white give a piece, but he has 3 passed pawns and 4 pawns for the piece. And after rook takes on b2, white pushes the d pawn and he's winning. That's why in the game black played king to f8, and white continued with b6. The pawn moved forward from the knight attack, defending the rook, but white should have played bishop to g2, freeing h3 square for the knight. As we can see, the knight from g5 is trapped. And black played rook to e5, attacking the knight, and white gave a check on e6, black captured, and white has a pass pawns. There are two squares, he will become a queen. Knight f to e8, attacking the rook, and the rook goes to d7. It seems that white wants to give his rook for two knights. Rook a to a5, and black wants to play rook to d5, exchanging one pair of rooks. And white attacks the rook, and black attacks the rook and looks to go on the 8th rank. Black continued with rook to b5, attacking the pawns from the b file, and rook to a8. Rook takes on b6 and bishop to g4, trying to go to h5, attacking the knight from e8. And rook to d5. The rook is more active on this position, protects the knight, and might go to d1, giving a check. White king is safer on this position, and rook takes on b4. We can see that black has a pass pawn on the b file. One plan in the endgame is to push our pass pawns. Black stands better in this position. He has an extra piece, and he has a pass pawn. Another target for black is the backward pawn from f2. Rook a1, white threatens mate with rook to h1 and rook to h8 mate. In the game, black continued with rook b to b5, double his rook on the 5th rank, and bishop to e2, attacking the rook. But better was to continue with the plan, with rook to h1 threatening mate. So rook to b1, the bishop is under attack, and the bishop goes to g4, defending the pawn, and black doubled on the 2nd rank and threatens to take the pawn from f2. King to h3, moving away from the check, and black takes the pawn. King to h4, this is a force move, otherwise white would have been mated on h2. Rook to h2 check, bishop to h3 blocking the check, and g5, trying to remove the defender of the bishop. King to h5, and rook takes on h3. Black wins another piece with check and king to g6. And here black continue with rook to f2, cutting the king from the f file. e7 check and king to g8. Rook takes on d6, and white is hoping that black would take the rook from d6, but this is a big blunder because black gets mated in 3 moves. So after knight takes on d6, rook to a8 check, knight to c8, rook takes on c8, rook to f8, and white gets a queen and mate. That's why in the game black continue with to h7, and after this rook move white resigned. By winning this game, Carlsen placed first on the Grand Chess Tour from 2017. As we can see on this picture, Magnus was first, second Maxim Vachilagraf, third Levon Aronian, fourth Hikaru Nakamura, fifth Fabiano Caruana, which was the winner of the London Chess Classic. On the 6th is Sergei Karyakin, 7th, and is Wesley So with Jan Nepomniachtchi, and on the 9th place is Vishy Anand. I hope that you learned something from this game. Please watch other games from my channel, and if you liked this video, please click the like button and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.